High-level overview, what is Paima Studios?
Yeah, great question. So as we were working on Milkmida, which for those who don't know is this roll-up for Algorand for EVM compatibility, we noticed that the space for like DeFi-focused layer 2s was really, really crowded. And not only is it really crowded, like from a regulatory perspective, DeFi is very much on the downtrend. It still kind of is to this day because of all the crackdown. And so we decided that we should probably pivot to something that nobody else is doing. Right now, everybody who is building on like layer 2s was really focused on the DeFi use case. And we saw like a huge potential in gaming because we saw a lot of NFT projects like wanting to get into gaming. Like they've built a brand, they've built some kind of IP that they now own, and they want to like expand that IP and increase user retention and user engagement. And games are a great way to do that. And so that's how we started Paima Engine, which is this framework for easily building, Web3 games. And notably, like we're fairly different from what you might have seen before because a lot of like the frameworks that exist right now are for something called Web 2.5 gaming, which is that you as a user own the NFT, but you do not own the in-game progress. All the in-game progress is stored on some centralized server, which is not only not ideal as a player, because like then you don't own the progress in many game, which is like the entire point. But also it's not great from a security perspective because you get instances like Axie Infinity where the centralized server for their game gets hacked and everybody loses their money. And so we wanted to build a framework that not only allows Web 2.5 games, but actually allows like fully autonomous worlds where there's no company or person that needs to be in charge of maintaining this world state.
That's really interesting. How do you pull that off? Because you're absolutely right. A lot of blockchain games, if you will, they sort of use elements of Web3, but they're still very much so Web2 based. And I always thought that was also a pain point in the growth of blockchain gaming as well. But how did you reach that point where people can have ownership of their played state as opposed to just like their NFT character and this open world concept you speak of?
So we spent quite a bit of time like looking into all the different things people are doing and seeing what the main pain points are. In my experience, there's 4 major pain points. The first one is like it's hard to write like on-chain games. Like if you have to go to an NFT, like how to say, most entrepreneurs who create an NFT project, they're not developers. They're usually artists. And if you go to them and say like you have to use like Teal or you have to use Solidity or Plutus, one of these languages, like it's just way outside of their existing tool set. And then also like they're really scared of getting hacked because they see what's happened to other projects, like build a smart contract and they get hacked and it absolutely destroys their NFT project. And so they don't want to make the same mistake. Third one is user acquisition. Like if you build a game for Algorand, for example, like you will probably quickly get to the point, like if you're successful, you'll hit saturation, which is like everybody in the Algorand community knows you, everybody who's wanted to play your games already played, and it's hard to like expand beyond that ecosystem. Other than maybe if like you grow Algorand itself, but like usually NFT creators are like good at marketing their NFT project, not necessarily good at marketing like Algorand, right? So they like to like, focus on their strength, which is like growing their brand. And then last one is like iteration speed. Like I've seen a lot of projects where they spend a lot of money, a lot of time to like write these smart contracts, deploy it, and then people just don't like it. And they're like, oh fuck, like to change this, I need to like rewrite the smart contract and spend a lot of money and then like hope it goes better. So we saw these like, 4 key issues in like the gaming space. And so to really enable people to like easily and safely build these games, that's how we built Paima Engine. So now that you know like the background on like the issues people have, we can talk about how we solve this. So a lot of it is kind of taking inspiration from our work on Milkmida, in the sense that like Milkmida added EVM support to Algorand. Algorand is not an EVM based chain. But you can do this with things other than EVM, right? So for Paima, we allow you to build your games using JavaScript and then deploy them on chain. So you don't have to go learn like Solidity or Teal or Plutus. And so this is like much easier, entry for game developers. And JavaScript has much better compatibility with existing game engines. Almost every game engine nowadays has some kind of JavaScript plugin. And then we made these games non-custodial. So that means it's like, for example, if you wanted to use Milkmida, first you have to bridge your algo to Milkmida, then use a dApp. And this is like not a great user experience. And so for Paima, what we decided to do is that the user funds stay on the layer 1. The benefit of this is that it means even if the game gets hacked or the game gets shut down, like user assets are not at risk. And you also get to use the layer 1 marketplace liquidity. Like if you list it on OpenSea or something, if your game's on Ethereum, you can take advantage of the Ethereum layer 1 NFT marketplace or the Algorand NFT marketplace and so on. So it gives you much better access to this liquidity as well. We also focus a lot on user acquisition, which is kind of how Algorand comes in. So as you mentioned, like we started in the Cardano ecosystem, but what you might not know is that actually Paima is all EVM based. And the way we have Cardano support is through a system we built for account abstraction, where we allow people to play with Cardano wallets, even though the game's not EVM. So from a Cardano user perspective, you use your Cardano wallet, you're playing with your Cardano wallet, you sign transactions in your Cardano wallet, but actually all this is running on EVM chain. And that's how also we added Algorand wallet support, I think maybe 2 weeks ago. So similarly, you can play these games with an Algorand wallet as well, even though it's actually running on EVM.
You just watched a clip from episode 65 of The Next Block. If you enjoyed this clip and want to check out the entire episode, check out the video description down below for a link to that episode. Of course, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit us up in the comments with who you think we should have on the podcast next. And to support the podcast further, check out the video description down below for a link to our Algorand donation wallet. This wallet accepts most Algorand standard assets, and it's a great way to support the podcast. Lastly, be sure to ping that notification bell so you never miss an episode. And on that, we'll catch you in the next video. Thanks.